Very, very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you guys were able to solve the questions on overheads. If you guys have any doubts or queries relating to overheads, you guys can please post it over the portal. Sorry. You can post it over the portal or those who are over Zoom can post it over Zoom. I'll try to address your query after completing this session. Okay, so I have got one. I have doubt in question number 9 of the study material. So let me check, Ayushi. During the break, I'll check the question and will address your query. Don't worry. So now let's start with a new chapter, activity-based costing. Now, this chapter is more or less related to overheads only, but it talks about a new approach. Now, what we were doing in overheads, let me explain the difference first. Before starting with the practical questions, see, in this chapter, the concepts are very less. So more of the session will be devoted for the practical questions only. So when talking about this chapter, what's the difference? What's the new thing what we will be learning? So see, what we used to do in overheads. Let's say these are the total overheads. Let's say rent, depreciation, audit fee, electricity, etc., etc. What we used to do, we used to distribute the overheads to the various production department and various service department. So this is all what we used to do in overheads. And after distributing the overheads to the various production department or service department, we used to reapportion the overheads. Of the service department to the various production department. And after reapportioning the overheads, we used to calculate the absorption rate. Either the overheads of a particular production department were absorbed on the basis of labor hours or machine hours, whatever it is. So for all the overheads of a particular production department, what we used to do, we used to absorb the overheads and we used to calculate only one absorption rate. All the overheads, be it rent, be it depreciation, be it electricity, be it audit fees, be it machine maintenance, everything we were absorbing on a single basis, that is either labor hours or machinery hours. Now, this activity-based costing says that this approach is incorrect. How can you absorb all the overheads on a single basis? In short, सारे overheads एक ही basis पे आप कैसे absorb कर सकते हैं? In simple terms, see, rent has nothing to do with labor hours. Audit fees has nothing to do with machine hours. So this activity-based costing says that how can you absorb all the overheads using only one basis? This approach is incorrect. I have a better approach. Activity-based costing says I have a better approach. Instead of absorbing all the overheads using one base, better identify the activities of the organization. What it says, first identify the activities of the organization. Let's say there are various activities of the organization: setup cost, machining cost, quality control and inspection, setup, machining, quality control and inspection, or we can say packing and finishing. So what activity-based costing says that instead of absorbing all the overheads on a single basis, first identify the various activities of the organization. That organization क्या-क्या activities करती है. Now, whatever the costs that are related to a particular activity will be grouped or summed together to form a cost pool. हर एक्टिविटी की सीधी और आसान भाषा में हर एक्टिविटी की जो भी कॉस्ट लगती है उसका हम लोग क्या कर देंगे, टोटल कर देंगे. So whatever the cost that are associated with a particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. So now We have got the total cost for this activity, total cost for this activity, total cost for this activity, total cost for this activity. Now this activity based costing says that for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. हर एक्टिविटी का एक सेपरेट बेसिस होगा अब्जॉर्प्शन का, and accordingly separate absorption rate is to be calculated for every activity. So I hope you guys can understand the difference that in overheads, total overheads divided by only one basis of absorption. This is what we call as absorption costing or traditional approach of costing. But activity based costing, what it says that instead of absorbing all the overheads on a single basis, what you have to do, first identify the various activities of the organization. Whatever the costs that are associated with a particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Now for every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. हर activity का एक separate basis होगा. जैसे इधर basis क्या था, labor hours और machine hours. Wherein herein for every activity there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. Basis of absorption we call it as cost driver. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. So therefore, the total cost divided by basis of absorption, we will get the various absorption rate. And this absorption rate as calculated will be used to charge the overheads of the various activity to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. If you guys have any conceptual queries or doubts, you guys can please ask me. Waiting for your queries, guys. This is the only concept of activity-based costing. See, in overheads, we discussed various concepts: allocation, absorption, apportionment, reapportionment, then calculation of absorption rate, then meaning and treatment of under or over absorption, and one more concept that was left out was machine hour rate calculation. So there were various concepts in overheads, but unlikely in this chapter, this is the only concept. First, identify the activities. Whatever the costs that are associated with the particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. For every activity, there will be a separate basis of absorption. We call it as cost driver. And since we have the amount, we have the units, we can easily calculate the absorption rate. And that absorption rate will be used to charge the overheads of these activities to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Arjun, very good morning, my dear. So as I discussed, there are two approaches. Traditional approach as what we learned in overheads, or we can say absorption. And when talking about the current chapter, that is activity based, cost. When traditional approach, very simple, total overheads divided by basis of absorption. It can be either machine hours or labor hours, etc. Total overheads divided by basis of absorption, it can be either machine hours or labor hours, etc. But when talking about activity-based costing, first what we have to do, identify the activities of the organization. Second, the cost relating to an activity will be, the cost relating to the particular activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. The cost associated with the activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Now, once the activities are identified, the total amount is ready, then we have to identify the basis of absorption. For every activity. We call it as cost driver. So first, identify the activities of the organization. Second, the cost associated with an activity will be grouped together to form a cost pool. Third thing, identify the basis of absorption for every activity. We call it as cost driver. And then once the amount and the cost driver is ready, we will calculate the absorption rate. And once absorption rate is calculated, we will charge using the absorption rate. Using the absorption rate, we will charge the overheads of every activity separately to a particular product or job to calculate total cost. So this chapter only talks about overheads. Material cost is incurred separately, labor is also incurred separately, direct expenses are also incurred separately. This chapter also talks about overhead. But there is a different technique for absorption of overhead. Now, when talking about identify the activities of the organization, no need to do any exercise. The various activities of the organization will always be given in the question. No need to do this exercise. This information, that is organization की क्या-क्या activities हैं, this information will always be given in the question. So this data will always be given in the question. Now, cost related to a particular activity, also this information will be given in the question. The cost relating to a particular activity will also be given in the question. No need to do this exercise. That these are the activity, these are the costs relating to that activity. Now, when talking about the cost drivers, we have to identify that किस activity का कौन सा cost driver है. So this part is the most trickiest part. So in this we have to identify. So this is the trickiest part. We have to identify that किस activity का कौन सा cost driver है. Now, once this part is done, we can easily calculate, and we can easily calculate. So this is all what about concept of activity-based costing. I'm done with the concept. If you guys have any doubts by whatever name called, then you guys can please post your query. Further giving you 2 to 3 minutes time to copy this explanation. It's the easiest way to explain activity-based costing. So whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, and then we'll discuss few points, and then we'll start with the practical questions. So giving you 2 minutes time to copy this part. Yes, Mr. Abdan, Yamini, any doubts, guys? Ayushi Mehta, any doubts? Divya, Kiran Bala, Om Krishna Gupta. There are two Om Krishna Gupta. Sayan Kumar Das, any doubts? Swati, any doubts? Arjun, any doubts? So just giving you a few examples. We can say the basis of absorption. So let's say ordering cost or purchase related cost. This can be an activity, and this is to be absorbed on the basis of number of purchase order. It can be absorbed on the basis of number of purchase order. Setup cost, either it can be absorbed on the basis of number of setups. If number of setups are given, it's fine. If not, then number of production run will always be given in the question. It can be absorbed on the basis of number of setups or number of production run. Machine related cost, it is to be absorbed on the basis of machine hours. Delivery and inspection. Delivery and inspection, or we can say inspection and testing cost. It can be absorbed on the basis of number of deliveries. So these are the few examples. So this will be the activity and this will be the basis of absorption. Generally, examiner gives the, generally in general cases, the question specified that this will be the cost driver. But the trickiest part is when the question doesn't specify that किस एक्टिविटी का कौन सा कॉस्ट ड्राइवर है, then you have to use your brains and identify that which cost drivers belongs to what activity. So this is all what it is. I request you guys to please open your study material. Now we'll be starting with few practical questions. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be discussing few practical questions also now. I'll be starting with example number 1, illustration number 1, page number 5.14. So giving you time, I request you guys to please open your study material. Illustration number 1, page number 5.14. The students who have not received study material from ICAI can refer soft copy of the study material. It is available over the portal. Page number 5.14, illustration number 1. So let's start with this question now. ABC Limited is a multi-product company. It's manufacturing 3 products, A, B, and C. The budgeted cost and production for the year ending 31st March are as follows. So there are 3 products, A, B, and C. The production quantity is given in units, that is 4,000, 3,000, and 1,600. Resources per unit is given, that is direct material in kgs is given, that is 4, 6, and 3. Direct labor hour in minutes is given, that is 30, 45, and 60 minutes to manufacture 1 unit of product. The budgeted direct labor hour rate is rupees 10 per hour. And the budgeted material cost is rupees 2 per kg. Production overheads were budgeted at 99,450 and were absorbed to the product using direct labor hour. So traditionally, what we were using, the total overheads were absorbed on the basis of labor hours. Now, ABC Limited followed the absorption costing system. That is what we have learned in overheads, or we can call it as traditional costing system. Now, ABC Limited is considering to adopt activity-based costing, The following additional information is made available for this purpose. Now they are planning to switch to activity-based costing, and the total 99,450 overheads were distributed among various activity. So this distribution of overhead, that is the cost relating to a particular activity, is already given in the question. That is 99,450. They have distributed as material handling is 29,100, storage cost is 31,200, and electricity is 39,150. This is what the breakup of 99,450. So पहले हम लोग क्या करते थे, total overhead 99,450 divided by labor hours. Now they have identified the activities and they have distributed the cost among various activity as per their past experiences or data, whatever it is. So we'll not go into it that how come they have distributed the overheads like this. So this data is given in the question and it will always be given in the question. That is the activity and the cost relating to a particular activity. So material handling cost is given, storage cost is given, and electricity cost is given. And these are the various activity. Now, what will be the cost driver for a particular activity? That is, what will be the basis of absorption for a particular activity? That is also clearly given in the question. So no need to do this hard work also. So material handling will be absorbed on the basis of weight of material handled. Storage cost will be absorbed on the basis of number of batches of material. And electricity cost will be absorbed on the basis of number of machine operations. So three terms: weight of material, number of batches, and number of machine operation. We have to figure out. Now herein, data on cost drivers are as follows. For complete production, batches of material is given. For per unit of production, number of machine operation is given. You are required to prepare a statement for management showing the unit cost and the total cost of each product using absorption costing system. That is the traditional costing system, what we have learned in overheads. So let's start with the first question and then we'll start with the second question. So illustration number 1, study material. The page number is 5.14. Now there are various processes that need to be followed. This is my approach. If you guys have a better approach, you can follow your approach. See, in study material, the questions they have solved, every question is solved with a different pattern. But I'm teaching you guys a particular fixed pattern. You have to follow that pattern and solve the question. You will find it very easy, and you will be able to understand the process also, that how to approach a question. Generally, in activity-based costing, the questions are a bit lengthy. So the first step is to read the question carefully. Half of the work is done if you read the question carefully. Each and every word of question, read it carefully and try to figure out that what's the meaning of and what's the use of a particular sentence or a particular word. So the first thing is read each and every line of question very carefully. Now, how to approach the solution? See, the question is asking us to prepare a statement of cost using absorption cost. So let's first calculate the absorption rate. We are solving the first part. So let's first calculate the absorption rate. Let's first calculate the absorption rate. How much are the total overheads? 99,450. Now, the overheads are absorbed on the basis of what? The total labor hours. So we have to first calculate the labor hours. So we need to calculate the labor hours also. It is given that overheads are absorbed on the basis of direct labor hour. So see, for 1 unit of product A, it requires 30 minutes. For product A, 1 unit requires 30 minutes. So 4,000 units into 30 minutes divided by 60, we have to convert it into hours. So we'll get 2,000 hours. So for B, how many units they are manufacturing? 3,000 units are manufacturing. And 1 unit take 45 minutes. If we divide it by 60, we will get hours. So we'll get 2250 hours. And for product C, we are manufacturing how many units? 1600 units. And one unit takes 60 minutes. It means 1 hour. So total 1600 hours. So how much will be the total hours? 5850 hours. So if we divide it by 5850 hours, we get the absorption rate. That is the rate per hour. That is 17 per hour. This part we have already learned in overhead. That is total overheads divided by basis of absorption. We will get the absorption rate. Now let's prepare the statement of cost. There are three products, A, B, and C. When talking about the material cost, it's given in the question that 4 kgs of material is required to manufacture 1 unit of product A and the rate of material is 2. So 4 into 2, 8 rupees. 6 into 2, 12 rupees. And 3 to just 6. Next is labor cost. So it is 30 minutes and the rate is 10 per hour. See, the rate is given 10 per hour and the time it takes is only 30 minutes. So 10 into 30 divided by 60 because we want to convert it in hours. So this will be 5. It takes 45 minutes. So this will be 7.5. And it takes 60 minutes. So 10 into 60 divided by 60. So it will be how much? 10. Now let's calculate the overheads also. See, we have calculated the rate per hour. And the rate per hour is how much? 17. 17 rupees are the overheads per hour. So herein, we have worked only for 30 minutes. So 70 into 30 divided by 60. Here also 17 into 45 divided by 60. Here also 17 into 60 divided by 60. So this will be 17. This will be 8.5. And this will be This will be 12 point. This is how we will calculate the per unit cost. That is 8 plus 5 plus 8.5. That is 21.5. 12 plus 7.5 plus 12.75. 32.25. This will be 33. So cost per unit, this is the total. If we want to calculate the total cost in rupees, we will multiply it by number of units. The units are 4,000, 3,000 and 1,600. So we will get the total cost. So this will be 52,800. This will be 96,750. This will be 86,000. So this is the way you guys have to solve the question using traditional approach. This part, nothing new. We have already discussed in overheads. That is, first calculate the absorption rate and charge that absorption rate to a particular product or to a particular job to calculate the total cost. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Very good, Ayushi. Very good, Swati. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Yes, Ayushi, Swati, any doubts? Divya, Verma, Divya G, Om Krishna Gupta, Yamini, Sunil Ganga Dev. Okay, great. So the first step is absorption rate. Second step is to prepare the statement of cost. So the first question is over. Now let's start with the second question. The second question is prepare a statement for the management showing the product cost of each product using activity-based costing approach. So now we have to prepare a statement, this cost statement as per activity-based costing. But herein, there is only one absorption rate, but in second part in activity-based costing, since there are three activities, so we have to calculate three absorption rate. So again, let's calculate. So in study material, every question is solved with a different approach, but follow these steps and follow the same approach, you will be able to solve any question. So let's prepare a table wherein we will calculate the absorption rate for every activity. So let's first write down what all activities of the organization are. There are three activities as mentioned: material handling, storage cost, and electricity. Material handling, storage cost, and electricity. So these are the various activities of the organization. The amount relating to a particular activity, that is 29,100, 31,200, and 39,150. 29,100, 31,200, and 39,150. Now the cost driver, that is the driver relating to a particular activity. So weight of material handled. Weight of material. Number of batches of material. And the last one is number of machine operation. Now the units, that is what is the weight of material, what are the number of batches of material, and what are the number of machine operation. Now, when talking about weight of material, that is they are talking about how many kgs. So see, the weight is straight away not given in the question. So I'm writing it for your for better understanding. So there are three products A, B, and C. When talking about the weight of material, for product A, they are saying 4,000 units are manufactured and every unit requires 4 kgs. So what will be the total raw material used in A? 16,000 kgs. 4,000 are the units and every unit requires 4 kgs. For product B, there are 3,000 units that are manufactured and every unit requires 6 kg. For product C, total 1,600 units are manufactured and every unit requires 3 kgs. So what is the total weight of material? 38,800. So we have got the weight of material 38,800. Now, when talking about the number of batches of material, see in question, it is clearly given that for complete production, the batches of material is 10, 5, and 15. It means what? Total 30 batches. Total 30 batches. That is 10 plus 5 plus 15. Further, when talking about number of machine operation, it is given, the number of machine operations are given, but it is given per unit of a product. So we have to calculate the number of machine operation also. See, batches are given for the complete production. पूरे production के लिए batches given है. But when talking about the number of machine operation, it is given per unit. So we have to calculate the total number of machine operation. So total 4,000 units for A, and the number of machine operations are per unit is 6. So this will be 24,000. For B, there are number of machine operations are 3. So this will be 9,000. And for product C, the number of machine operations are 2. So this will be 36,200. Now we can easily calculate the absorption rate. 29,100 divided by 38,800, 0.75 per kg. 0.75 per kg. 1040 per batch. And number of machine operations are 36,200. So 39, 1.081 per machine operation. So here in overheads, we were getting only one. We were calculating one absorption rate for all the overheads. But in activity-based costing, see the total of this is what? 99,450. But in activity-based costing, there are three absorption rate. That is, there are three activity and there are three absorption rate. So practically, this method is much better than the traditional approach. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. Further, waiting for your queries first. If you guys have any queries, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to please copy this explanation. I'll be solving all the question using this format only. That is, first absorption rate, then see, we have to do this exercise because this data is not given. Then again, the statement of cost as per traditional approach. Then for again, as per ABC also, we have to prepare this statement to calculate absorption rate. This exercise we did because the data is not given clearly. So these two statements may vary from question to question because the data was not ready. So first absorption rate, then statement. Here also first absorption rate, then statement. These two working notes are the additional working notes because the information was missing in the question. So I request you guys to please copy this part because I'll be erasing this part, giving you 2 to 3 minutes time to copy this explanation. Okay, Divya Verma, sir, how come 0.75 per kg? See, Divya, total amount is how much? 29,100. Total kgs are how much? 38,800. So, how come this 0.75? 29,100 divided by 38,800. This is the amount, this is the kgs. So, we'll get 0.75 per kg. I hope this part is clear, Divya. So similarly, again, storage cost also 31,200 divided by 30 batches will get 1040 per batch. It's very simple. The total amount divided by my number of units. Let's call it as A. Let's call it as B. So it is A divided by B. Again, try to memorize the concept rather than learning the table. Because see, why I am doing very simple. The purpose is to calculate the absorption rate. How we will calculate the absorption rate? Total amount divided by my number of units. As simple as that. Any doubts, any queries, then you guys can please post. Further, I request you guys to please copy this part because I'll be erasing this part. Giving you 2 minutes time. Yes, Ayushi, Abdan, Divya Verma, Kiran Bala, Om Krishnan. Any doubts? Sayan Kumar, Sunil, Swati, Yamini. Anyone having any doubts? Arjun, any doubts? The, the question is lengthy, the solutions are lengthy, but yes, it's very easy. It's like a bonus marks in exams, guys. Yes, Abdan, any doubts? Sunil? Okay, let's proceed further. Now we have to prepare the statement as per activity-based costing. Again, we have to follow the same process. Statement showing calculation of cost. There are three products, product A, product B, and product C. The material cost and the labor cost will be the same. That is 5, 7.5, and 10. 5. The labor cost will be 8, 12, and 6. One second. The material cost is, one second, 8, 12, and 6, sorry. 8, 12, and 6. The labor cost will be 5, 7.5, and 10. So we have the total prime cost, that is 8 plus 5, 13. This is 19.5 and 16. Now, in the previous part, we just put up the overhead and we have used the absorption rate, that is 17 rupees, and we got the total cost. But herein, the overheads are divided in three parts, so we have to calculate the overhead separately. So first one is material handling. First one is material handling, 0.75 per kg. It is what? 0.75 per kg. And the weight is what? For weight, for A, it is 16,000 kg. So 16,000 into 0.75. So this will be 12,000. How come 12,000? 16,000 is the weight of material and the rate is 0.75 per kg. Similarly, for B, it is 18,000 kgs into 0.75. So this will be 13,500. For C, it is 4,800. So this will be 3,600. Next is storage cost. It is 1040 per batch. And the number of batches are 10, 5, and 15. So 1040 batch in 1040 per batch into 10 batches, that is 10,400. 1040 per batch into 5, this is 5,200. And 1040 into 15 batch, it will be 15,600. Now next is electricity cost. It is 1.081 per machine operation. So machine operations are 24,000 into 1.081, 25,944. Again 9,000. Sorry guys, 1.081 into 9,000, 9,729. I'm writing it as the balancing figure because the total cost is 39,150. So we will get the total overheads. We'll get the total overheads as, one second guys, 3,477 plus 15,600 plus 3,600, 22,677. So we have got the total overhead. We will calculate the overheads per unit. The units are already given in the question. That is 4,000, 3,000, and 1,600. So 48. So this is what we have got the overheads per unit. So prime cost plus overhead, that is material, labor, and overheads, the total cost per unit will be 13 plus 12, 25.086. 19.5 plus 9.476, 28.976. So this is the way to solve the question. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your query. If we multiply this total cost per unit with units, we will get the total cost also. So the first step is what? Calculate the absorption rate as per traditional costing. Prepare the statement of cost as per traditional costing. Then prepare the statement for calculating absorption rate as per ABC. And then last, this statement, that is the cost statement. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. So Ayushi Mehta, sir, can you please explain again the overheads part? So see, Ayushi, it is very simple. See, we have calculated, see, these overheads need to be distributed among these three products. This overhead that is 29,100, 31,200, 39,150. Total 99,450 is to be distributed among these three products. So we have calculated the various absorption rate. That is absorption rate for material handling, absorption rate for storage cost, and absorption rate for electricity. Now, with the help of this absorption rate, we will distribute the overheads. So see, it is 0.75 per kg for material handling. And the material is what? 16,000 for A, 18,000 for B, and 4,800 for C. So 16,000 into 0.75 for A, 18,000 into 0.75 for B, and 4,800 into 0.75 for C. So this is how this 29,100 is distributed. See, 12,000 plus 13,500 plus 3,600. Ultimately, we are distributing 29,100. The total of these three will be 29,100. Similarly, the total of these three will be storage cost, that is 31,200, and total of these three will be 39,150. So ultimately, we are distributing these amounts. So herein 1,040 per batch. The number of batches for A are 10, for B it is 5, and for C it is 15. That is given in the study material. So 1,040 into 10, 1,040 into 5, and 1,040 into 15. And similarly for the number of machine operations. Sir Divya Verma, please explain the labor part. How you calculated 5, 7.5, and 10. So it's very simple. The cost is 10 per hour. We are working only 30 minutes, so 30 divided by 60. In short, 10 रुपए एक घंटे का है. So for 30 minutes, that is आधे घंटे का कितना होगा? 5 rupees. For 45 minutes, how much it will be? 7.5 rupees. And for proper 1 hour, that is for proper 60 minutes, it will be rupees 10. Now I request you guys to copy this part, and whatever the queries you have, whatever running in your mind, do post the queries. Don't feel like that what sir will think, what other students will think. Don't feel like this. At the end of the day, you guys have to clear the exam. So no one is here to judge you that you have not understood or whatever it is. So whatever the queries you guys have, please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. And giving you 5 to 6 minutes time to copy this explanation. In the meanwhile, those who want to post the queries can please post your queries. So this is all what about illustration number 1. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes with 2 more different questions. So let's take a break of 15 minutes, guys. Admin sir, are you there? Admin sir, are you there? Admin sir, are you there? Admin sir? Okay, guys, let's take a break of 15 minutes. I think Mr. Admin is not there. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back at 12:30 with few more questions. Thank you so much, guys. Let's go for a break. सर कहाँ थे आप? ब्रेक स्टार्टेड ना? So shall we start? So shall we start? Welcome back, guys. So now let's start with one more question of study material. Illustration number 3. So let's start with illustration number 3. ABC Limited manufactures two types of machinery equipment Y and Z, and absorbs overheads on the basis of direct labor hours. So there is a company, ABC Limited, it manufactures two types of machine equipment, Y and Z, and it absorbed overheads on the basis of labor hours. The budgeted overheads and the direct labor hours for the month of December are 12,42,500 and 20,000 hours respectively. The information about the company product is as follows, wherein in case of Y and Z, the budgeted production volume is given, material cost per unit is given, and the direct labor cost per unit is also given, that is 450 and 600. ABC Limited overheads of rupees 12,42,500 can be identified with three major activities. So they have given the activities also, that is order processing, machine processing, and product inspection. And the drivers are also given, that is order processed, machine hours worked, and inspection hours respectively. The data relating to three activities are also given, that is order process, machine hours, and inspection. Assuming that the direct labor hours to absorb apply overhead to the production compute the unit manufacturing cost of the equipment Y and Z if the budgeted manufacturing volume is attained. So again, the purpose of discussing this question is that, as I said, that there is a fixed pattern how to solve the question. So that's why I'm discussing this illustration number 3. As compared to illustration number 1, it is easy and it's more easy. So let's quickly finish off illustration number 3. Then we will start with one or two practical questions. So the first thing what we did is we calculated the absorption rate as per traditional system. We'll calculate the absorption rate, that is 12,42,500 divided by 20,000 hours. We'll get the rate per hour. Now we can easily prepare the cost statement since we have got the rate per hour. So there are two products. Product Y and Z. When talking about material cost, it is given straight away, that is 300 and 450. When talking about labor cost, again it is given 450 and 600. And when talking about overheads, It is given that the overheads are absorbed on the basis of labor hours. See, labor hours are given for Y and Z. That is, for every unit we require 3 hours for Y, and for Z it is 4 hours. So overheads also we can calculate it directly. 3 hours are required for Y and 4 hours are required for Z. So 3 So this is how the unit cost will be calculated. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Further, the question is asking us to calculate. See, it is given in the question, assuming use of direct labor hour to absorb overheads to the production, compute the unit manufacturing cost only for equipment Y and Z. So the question has asked us to calculate only the unit manufacturing cost, not the total cost. If we want to calculate the total cost, we can multiply this unit cost with 2500 units of Y and 3125 units for Z. So if we multiply this cost with the units, we will get the total cost. So this is what the first part is. Now let's proceed further with the second part. That is, the question is asking us to calculate the unit cost as per activity based costing. The first part, absorption. Second part, the statement of cost. Now, as per ABC, this is the first part of the solution. So we have to, for ABC, we again have to calculate the absorption rate. That is, the first column is activity, what all activities are involved. So therein, there are 3 activities: order processing, machine processing, and product inspection. Order processing, machine processing, and product inspection. The total cost is also given in rupees. Two lakh 10,000, 8,75,000, and 157,500. 2,10,000, 8,75,000, and 157,500. Now the cost driver. The cost driver is order process, machine hour works, and inspection hours. Orders processed, machine hours, and inspection. Orders processed, machine hours, and inspection hours. Now, herein, when talking about the orders processed, also it is straight away given total 600 orders were processed. When talking about the total machine hours worked, it is 50,000. And when talking about the inspection hours, also it is given 15,000 straight away. So 2,10,000 divided by 600. So this will be 350 per order. This is 17.5 per hour. That is 10.5 per hour. So we are done with this part. Now let's prepare the statement. Showing calculation of cost per unit. There are two products, product Y and Z. The material cost we have is 300 and 450. The labor cost we have is 450 and 600. So the prime cost will be 750 and 1050. Now let's calculate the total overheads. First one is order processing. It is 350 per order. And the number of orders for Y is 350. So 350 into 350, this will be 122,500. 350 into 350. For Z, it will be 250 into 350. 87,500. 250 into 3. So order processing is over. Now machine processing. It is 17.5 per hour. And the number of hours are 23,000 for Y. So 23,000 into 17.5. So this will be 4,02,500. Into 27,000. So this will be 472,500. Next is product inspection. It is 10.5 per hour. So 4,000 into 10.5. This is 42,000. 4,000 into 10.5 and 11,000 into 10.5. It is 11,155,00. I'm not mentioning the calculation separately because it's the same. So this I have mentioned for your understanding. Rest all I have not provided the detailed working note. So my total overheads are 675 500 5,67,000. We have the number of units. For Y, it is 2,500 units, and for Z, it is 3,125 units. So we'll get the overheads per unit. So this will be 226.8, and we'll get the cost per unit also. 226 point, let's say this is A and this is B. So cost will be, that is material, labor and overheads. So 976.8 1266.16. So again, I have followed the same process and the same steps. If you guys have any doubts or any queries, you guys can please post your queries. When talking about the third part, they are talking about the cost distortion. So they are talking about the difference between the cost as per overheads and as per ABC. And we have to take overheads, absorption as the base. So if the cost is more, then we can say it is over costed, and if the cost is less, we can call it as under costed. So this is the way you guys have to solve the question with the same pattern, that is absorption rate, cost statement. Absorption rate, cost statement. I request you guys to please copy this explanation. In the meanwhile, if you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, and I request you guys to please copy the solution. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. I hope you guys are thorough with the concept, that is how to solve the question, even though the questions are lengthy, but the chapter is very easy. You have to follow the steps, read the question carefully, just check what the question is asking, and then start solving the question. Swati, not budget, actually absorbed overheads. We will compare it with actual overheads to get under or over absorption, Swati. Just check what I have taught you guys. First, using the budgeted overhead, calculate the absorption rate. That absorption rate will be applied to the actual hours to get absorbed overheads. And we will compare absorbed overheads with actual overheads to calculate under or over absorption. I hope your query is resolved, Swati. I repeat again, budgeted overheads divided by budgeted hours, we will get the absorption rate. We have to apply that absorption rate to actual hours to calculate absorbed overheads. And we will compare absorbed overheads with actual overheads to find under or over absorption of overheads. Now, I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be discussing practical question number 1. Practical question number 1. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'm discussing practical question number 1. So let's start with practical question number 1. It's a very good question. Let's start. So Woolmark Limited manufactured 3 types of product, P, Q, and R. And the data relating to a period R is under, wherein machine hours per unit is given, the direct labor hour per unit is given, the direct material cost per unit is given, and the production in unit is also given. Machine hours, labor hours, material cost per unit is given. Now, production units are 3,000, 5,000, and 20,000. Currently, the company uses traditional costing method and absorb all the production overhead on the basis of machine hours. The machine hour rate of overhead is the machine hour rate of overhead is rupees 6 per hour, and the direct labor rate is 20 per hour. Okay. So herein the company is using absorption costing, and they are absorbing all the overheads on the basis of machine hours. And instead of giving overheads and total machine hours, they have given the absorption rate directly. Now the direct labor hour rate is 20, so labor are being paid at the rate rupees 20. The company proposes to use activity-based costing system and the activity analysis as under, wherein the information related to batch size units, the batch size is given, that is in a batch 150 units are processed for P, in a batch 500 units are processed for Q, and in a batch 1000 units are processed for R. The number of purchase order per batch is also given, that for every batch we need 3 purchase order for P, for Q we need 10 purchase order, and for R we need 8 purchase order. So we have to calculate the total purchase order. Let's see. First we will finish reading the question. The number of inspection per batch is also given. The total production overheads are analyzed as under, wherein machine setup cost is 20%, machine operation cost is 30%, inspection cost is 40%, and material procurement related cost is 10%. Now you are required to calculate the cost per unit of each product using traditional method of absorbing all the production on the basis of machine hours. So let's start with the traditional approach first, and then we will see what to do in activity-based costing. Herein, the activities are given, but what will be the cost driver for a particular activity? That is, कौन सी activity का कौन सा cost driver होगा, that is not given in the question. As I mentioned, that it is bit on the trickier side. That is, we have to figure out that what will be the basis of absorption for a particular activity, or we can say what will be the cost driver for a particular activity. Have to identify it. So this part we will be discussing in this question. So let's start with practical question number 1. The page number is 5.34. First thing is the absorption rate. It is given in the question, that is currently the company uses traditional costing and absorb all the production on the basis of machine hour, and the machine hour rate of overhead is rupees 6 per hour. So absorption rate is rupees 6 per hour. Sorry, per machine hour. Now, statement of cost. P, Q, and R. When talking about the material cost, it is given straight away 90, 80, and 120. $90, $80, and $120. When talking about the labor cost also, we can easily calculate. See, the wage rate is 20 per hour, and the labor hour per unit is 4 for P. So 4 into 20, that is 80. 12 into 20, that is 240. And for R, it is 8 into 20, that is 160. Now, when talking about overheads, they are absorbed on the basis of machine hour, and that the rate is also given, that is rupees 6 per machine hour. So machine hour per unit is 10. So 10 into 6, 60. 18 into 6, this is 108. And 14 into 6, that is 84. So we have got the cost per unit. So this is 364. This is 428. This will be 230. If you guys have any doubts till now, first of all, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Waiting for your queries. If you guys have any queries in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Sir, how come this overhead came? See, we have got the absorption rate as ₹6 per machine hour. It is given in the question that the overheads are absorbed on the basis of machine hours. So it is ₹6 per hour. Now, machine hours are also given. That is, for P, we require 10 machine hours. For Q, we require 18 machine hours. And for R, we require 14 machine hours. So 10 into 6. This is 10 into 6. 18 into 6. And it is 14 into 6. I hope this part is clear to all now. Now let's proceed further. Now herein, for activity-based costing, we need to first calculate the overheads because the total overheads are not given. However, the absorption rate is given. Now see, so this is what the first part. So let's see the second part first. See, calculate the cost per unit of each product using activity-based costing. So now we have to calculate the cost, and here in the overheads, total overheads we don't have. So we have to first calculate the total overheads. So let's first calculate the total machine hours. For P, Q, and R. See, the total units of P is 3000 and the machine hours per unit is 10. So 30,000. 3,000 hours and every unit required 10 hours. So total 30,000 hours for P. Again for Q, it is 18 hours per unit is required and we are manufacturing 5,000 units. So 5,000 into 18, that is, I think it is 90,000. So this is 90,000. And for R, we are manufacturing 20,000 units and we are manufacturing 20,000 units and the hours required per unit is 14. So total is 2,80,000. So total machine hours are how much? So total 4 lakh machine hours. Total 4 lakh machine hours. Now absorption rate we have is 6 per machine hour. So total overheads will be how much? Total 4 lakh hours into 6 is the rate per hour for machine hours. So this will be 24 lakh. So how come this 6 is calculated? 24 lakh divided by 4 lakh hours. So what we do in absorption, total overheads divided by machine hours. So 24 lakh divided by 4 lakh hours, we will get the 6 per machine hour rate. So we have done the reverse calculation to calculate the overheads, that is 24 lakh. Now, herein, in this organization, there are total 4 activities, that is machine setup cost, machine operation cost, inspection cost, material procurement related cost. So let's start with calculation of absorption rate. We have got the total overheads. So we'll distribute these total overheads among these 4 activities in the ratio of 2:3:4:1. That is 20%, 30%, 40%, and 10%. So let's start with statement showing calculation of absorption rate. What all activities are there? Machine setup, machine setup is an activity. Machine operation, the next inspection cost. I'm not ignoring the word because of inspection cost. And the last one is material procurement related cost. The percentage of cost is also given: 20, 30, 40, and 10. 20, 30, 40, and 10. So the cost will be how much in rupees? 24 lakh into 20%. That is 4,80,000. This will be 7,20,000. This will be 9,60,000. And this will be 2,40,000. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. Yes, Divya, Ayushi, any doubts, guys? Srinivasan, any doubts? Swati, Om Prakash, any doubts? Sorry, Om Krishna. Now, next is cost driver. The most important part of this question, that is, we have to identify the cost driver, because straight away cost drivers are not given in the question. So now, see, let's check the additional information. The batch size is given, the number of purchase order is given, and the number of inspection is given. Now see, when talking about the machine setup cost, when talking about the machine setup cost, it is more or less it is more or less dependent upon the number of batches, because it has nothing to do with purchase order, it has nothing to do with machine hours, it has nothing to do with inspection. So since batch size is given, so we can say the number of batches, that is जितने batch होंगे उतने machine setup करने पड़ेंगे. For every batch we have to do the setup. So herein the most appropriate cost driver for machine setup can be either number of batches or number of production run. So here in the production runs are not given, so this will be number of batches. Now herein the batch size is given, but number of batches are not given. So we have to first calculate the number of batches. So let's make an additional working note. PQR. We have the number of units. We have the total number of units of P, Q, and R. It is 3,000, 5,000, and 20,000. 3,000, 5,000, and 20,000. Now, herein the number of batches are not given. It is given what is the batch size. That is, एक batch में कितने units manufacture होते हैं? The batch size is given. That is, in a batch, 150 units are manufactured of product P, 500 units are manufactured for product Q, and 1,000 units are manufactured for product R. In a batch, 150 units are manufactured of product Q, P, 500 for Q, and 1,000 for R. So herein we can easily calculate the number of batches. So it will be, this will be 20, this will be 10, and this will be 20. So total number of batches will be how much? 50 batches. So this part is the key. That is 20 batches we require for product P, 10 batches we require for product Q, and 20 batches we require for product R. So total number of batches will be 50. The first part is over. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Herein the number of batches are not given. The batch size is given. So batch size has nothing to do with setup cost. Every time for a separate batch we have to set up the machine. हर बार एक नए batch के लिए machine setup cost incur होता है, या for every production run a separate setup cost is incurred. So herein the batch size is given. The number of batches are not given. So in a batch 150 units are manufactured, and we have in aggregate manufactured 3,000 units. So total number of batches for P, Q, and R we have calculated. Let me check if there are any queries now. So this part is done now. So we have the number of batches. Now, when talking about the machine operation part, one second. See, machine operation part has nothing to do with batch size or batches, nothing to do with purchase order, nothing to do with inspection. So when talking about machine operation cost, it is more or less dependent upon machine hours. So herein, when talking about machine operation, it is dependent upon machine hours. As I said, that is the trickiest part, that this activity ka kaun sa cost driver hoga. So for this, you have to practice as many as question possible. Then only you will be able to understand that why I'm doing so. I'm doing it easily because I have practiced lots of questions for activity-based costing. That's why I'm able to figure out. But in short, machine operation has nothing to do with number of batches, number of inspection, or number of purchase order. So it is to be absorbed on the basis of machine hours, and we have already calculated machine hours. That is 30,000, 90,000, and 2,80,000. So total 4 lakh machine hours. Further, when talking about the inspection, the number of inspections are given, but it is per batch. So we have to calculate the total number of inspection. So this is the first point. Now, inspection per batch is given 5, 4, and 3. So total number of inspection will be how much? Inspection per batch is 5 and number of batches are 20. So 20 into 5. Inspection per batch is 5. So the total number of inspection will be 100. That is 20 into 5. That is first into second. So this will be 40 and this will be 60. So total number of inspection will be 200. 100 plus 40 plus 60. So inspection cost will be on the basis of number of inspection, but not per batch. Total number of inspection. So that is 200. Again, when talking about the material procurement, see, material procurement means what? That we are procuring material from the outside supplier. So the cost will be more or less related to the number of purchase orders. And herein the number of purchase orders are also given, but it is given for every batch. So we have to calculate the total purchase order. So herein, per batch is given. That is how much? 3, 10, and 8. So now we will get the inspection total number of purchase order. So 3 number of batches are 20 and purchase order per batch is 3. So 20 into 3, this will be 60. 10 into 10, this will be 100. And 20 into 8, this will be 160. That is the number of batches are first into fourth. Again, I repeat, purchase order per batch is 3 and the number of batches are 20. So 20 into 3, 60. 10 into 10, 100. And 20 into 8, 160. So we have got the number of purchase order also, that is 16 plus 6, 220 plus 100, 320. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. The question is a bit tricky because straight away nothing is given. Neither that किस activity का कौन सा driver होगा. Further, the calculation also we need to do. So if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. I think 1 second. I hope now this part is visible to all. So this is the most important part. Yes, everyone, anyone having any doubts, you guys can please post. Yes, Ayushi, Abdan, Divya Ji, Divya Verma, Kiran Bala, Liana Rias, Om Krishna Gupta, Srinivasan, Sunil, Ganga Dev, Swati. Anyone having any doubts, please post your query. Yamini, any doubts? I repeat again, guys. Machine setup has nothing to do with machine arts. Machine setup has nothing to do with number of inspection. Machine setup has nothing to do with number of purchase order. So machine setup is more or less dependent upon the number of production run or number of batches. But herein the number of batches are also not given. But the question has given the batch size. That is, in every batch, we will be manufacturing 150 units of P, 500 units of Q, and 1000 units of R. So we have the total units, so we can easily calculate the number of batches. So we can easily calculate the number of batches, that is 3000 divided by 150. We have got 20, 10, and 20. So the total number of batches are 50. When talking about inspection, they have given inspection, but they have given the inspection per batch. The number of inspections are given, but it is given per batch. So we have to calculate the total number of inspection. So inspection per batch is 5. So the total number of inspection will be 5 into 20, 100, 4 into 10, 40, and 3 into 20, 60. Further, when talking about the purchase order, it is dependent upon the number, material procurement cost also, it is dependent upon the number of purchase order. But herein purchase orders are also given for every batch. So we have to calculate the total purchase order. So when talking about the total purchase order, there are 3 purchase order for every batch. And 20 batches are there. So 20 into 3, 60, 10 into 10, 100, and 20 into 8, 160. So now we are ready with the master chart. So let's calculate the absorption rate. So this will be 9,600 per batch. This will be 1.8 per hour. $4,800 per inspection. And 750 per So we are done with the absorption rate calculation. Now you guys can easily solve the question. Material cost, labor cost, overheads we have to calculate separately for 4 items, and then divided by total units, we will get the overhead per unit. Overhead per unit and material and labor will get the total cost per unit. So this part you guys can solve it on your own. The trickiest part was this one and this identification of cost driver. So I'm done with this chapter. The last part, you have to solve it on your own. It's the same process what I'm following in every question. That is absorption rate, cost statement. Absorption rate, cost statement. But straight away, if any information is not given, then you have to prepare additional working note. But the pattern is same for all the questions. So if you guys have any doubts in this activity-based costing, then you guys can please mention. Waiting for your queries, guys. Further, I request you guys to copy this explanation, giving you 2 minutes time to copy. In fact, 5 minutes time to copy this explanation. In the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or query, you guys can put it over the portal or over Zoom. I'll address all your queries, guys. Giving you 5 minutes time to copy this explanation. The presentation and the explanation is the key. So just try to write it down, everything in your notebook. Ayushi, I'll just check out the question and will address your query personally. You can write a mail to ICAI. I'll try to address your query over the mail. Anyone else having any doubts or queries? I'll check out with ICAI and will message you the email address. So just give me some time. I can't share my personal email. Let me check, Ayushi. I'll give you the email address in the next class. Don't worry. I need to check what's the official email for ICAI. So just give me a day's time. I'll get back to you. Anyone else? I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Sometimes the past, these days, sometimes Institute delete the past sessions over YouTube. So that's why I'm requesting you guys to please copy the solution. I've not received any query, Srinivasan. So guys, thank you so much for your time and patience. Try to solve all the question in writing, as I have mentioned in the previous sessions also. Try to solve each and every question in writing. I'll be back with the next chapter soon. So till then, try to solve all the questions what I have discussed. And apart from this, all the questions of study material and past practice manual. Trust me, guys, if you are thorough with the concepts, you will be able to solve every question. So thank you so much for your time and patience. Have a great day. Enjoy.